Finally, computer started to work. Thank you very much. Apologies for the delay, everyone. Hello, everyone. What's going on? It's Bales. Welcome back to another episode of the Weekend Forecast. My computer was stuffing up. I just could not get it to work, but we've finally figured it out. So apologies for the delay. How my microphone's too loud in my ears. So hope you guys are all doing well. Hope you enjoyed the game last night, and we've got another round 4 to get stuck into. So again, apologies for the delay. If you are new around here, make sure you leave a like on the video if you're enjoying the content and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. All that is very much appreciated as always. So, big week. We've got all the talk about the rucks. We'll get into all of that. We'll get into last night's game as well. We'll get stuck in all that. So, let's just get stuck in there straight away. So, get stuck into what happened last night. So, very one-sided game. Probably the scoreline didn't actually reflect the way the game was played. I thought it felt like Melbourne won by 100 points, but they only won by 32, which helped me and my tipping because I tipped them by 30. But so Max Gawn will start at the top. So Big Maxie's back. We wanted to see something big from him. If you traded him out this week, it sucks, obviously, that you trade out of 140 or if you got rid of him last week. But as Selby said on Twitter last night, and other people said as well, you probably got Preussy in, and then you probably use that cash to upgrade a guy like a Paddy McCartan. So you could have Max Gawn and Paddy McCartan. Paddy McCartan could get a 40, 50 maybe, and you got Gawn. So it's 190 points between the two, right? Which is what I probably got O'Driscoll. So let's say O'Driscoll gets 50 points as well. You only get 190 points, whereas Preussy get 100, and you could have gotten, I don't know, let's say you got a Jordan Dawson or something, or if you got a Dougherty or a Short, right? They could get 100 as well. So then you're going to get over 200 points. So in a way, you've probably come out on top by a few points. So, but obviously, Max going to get the 140s helped if you do have that rookie. It's sort of evened out if you kept Max. So, good game for Max. 25 touches, 12 marks, and 33 hitouts. Obviously, his marking looked back last night again. Port were quite undersized last night. They really only had Lysette as that real big, tall player. So I wouldn't sort of Gorney's back in a way, but I would sort of be tempering expectations to think, he's back to his 130 plus 120s, and whatever. So, but he looks good. He looks back. He looks like he's clunking the marks. He's been positive. There's been positive signs over the first few weeks, giving away free kicks, dropping marks, a couple of 79s, and then the 101, and then when we've seen the big 140. So it just shows that Max Gawn is going to be one of the top two rucks. Obviously, I think Grundy will be the other ruck as well. So let's see how Grundy goes against who's he got this week? Got Nick Nat-Nui. So, and he's done quite one of the past, which I'll obviously delve into a little bit more when we get to him. So exactly I think it was about 4,000 coach or just over 4,000 coach that got rid of Max this week. So again, a lot of those guys would have moved him on to a Preuss and probably upgraded a guy like a McCartan or a Skinner. Could have gone Skinner to Blakely, or you could have gone as I said, you could have gone McCartan to someone else. So I'm sure that you got another good player on the other side. So obviously you're in a good spot. But if you kept Gawn and you traded Grundy, for example, then that could be the play that maybe you came on top of potentially. Travis Blake, 127, continues his really good form over the first bit of the season, averaging 125.8 over the first 4 weeks. Okay, good. So I was hoping, hang on, I'm just quickly doing something on tab here I couldn't do before. No, I hope that didn't come through on the recording. I just started playing. Hang on. Just fixing it up here. And we're all good to go. Yeah, sorry about that. Because my computer was started up before, it just stuff that was set up for the stream didn't properly set up. So we're all set up now. We're all 100% ready and good to go. So yeah, Boat, 125.8 average for the season so far, which is great. If you're one of the 2.2% in class that own him, obviously that's brilliant. You've got a player that's well outperforming what you probably thought he was going to. Will he be a top 8 midfielder? I don't think he will. I don't know if he can sustain the 125. He's not going to sustain the 125 average. But then again, we saw Toot Miller average 9 the year before, come out of nowhere. I know Boak's obviously a bit older, but he's just getting it done. So what can you say, really? But if you got him in draft, then brilliant. You've got him obviously a lot later than what the way he's performing. He's outperforming pretty much all the big boys at the moment. So brilliant. Yeah, good. I thought he'd play a bit more forward this year, but he's not. He's playing pretty much full-time mid, so he's playing very well. But again, I wouldn't consider him an option to bring in, because he is very expensive. What is he priced at now? He's 908, breaking 89. He's going to be like 930 something next week. So, yeah, unless you just like sort of just trading and just getting whoever you want, then just go for it. But I don't know if I'd recommend bringing him in classic. If he's a bit cheaper, then maybe. Riley Bonner, 125 now. Got a heap of the ball with 37 touches now. He's shown the past that he can rack up the points, but he's too inconsistent for an option in classic. I know he would have gone in a number of drafts as like a late defender. So if you've got him as probably your last defender or your second last defender on your field, then great. That's obviously good. You get 120 from him. But yeah, I don't know if that's going to necessarily continue in like for the season. So because they've got so many guys, so they've got Burton, they've got Burn-Jones, they've got Bonner. They've got Bergman's in the team now. Dersman's in the team normally as well. So they've got a lot of Houston. I don't know if I said Houston already, but they've got all these guys coming out from the wing / half back. So yeah, I don't know if he'll be a consistent option. Dan Houston, 94. I'd just be happy that he got to 94. I didn't actually notice him too much. I think he had two decent quarters. I think he had 39 points in the second quarter and like near a 30-point quarter in the last quarter. So he had two big quarters that probably saved it. Port weren't great. But all of Port's defenders did score quite well. Like Jonas got over 100, Houston got 94, Bonner obviously got 37 touches and got a 120. So all their defenders scored really well. So yeah, probably a bit inflated with all those because they did keep it off of Melbourne for a bit, but just didn't translate to the actual result. Christian Petrarca got 77, so he got the Drew tag for the night. He still had 25 touches, but again, he only had the 1 mark and the 4 tackles, so 24 touches. He only had the 1 mark and the 4 tackles, so not the big ceiling. Unfortunately, GWS awaits next week. So I'm interested to see what happens next week. Is it going to be Ash and De Boer go to Petrarca, or they go to Oliver, or one goes to Oliver, one goes to Petrarca? I don't know. Or are they just going to go head-to-head with them because they just need to, because you can't tag one and let the other one off the leash? So going to be interesting to see. But again, that's might be 3 poor scores from Petrarca in a row. Be good for us non-owners because he had a break even. I think it was a bit higher last night. So his break even last night was a 132, got a 77. He's going to obviously plummet in price after his obviously big 2 scores at the start of the year. So yeah, be good for, as I said, and probably a good time to pounce would be he's got Giants next week. Then he's got Richmond, who he should do quite well against. But then he's got Hawthorn in round 7, and we know Hawthorn get up truckloads of points to midfielders. So that could be a bit of a play that people try and, if they're looking for a premium midfielder, he might be around the 900k mark or just over when dropping in price. Could bring him in against Hawthorn and should be set for a big score there. So potentially could look at that. Zach Butters only 77, saved by a 50-point second half. I know he got 3 points taken off him in the end. He had a 25-point last quarter, ended up being 22. 80 looked a lot better. 77, that's 2 poor scores in a row. I'm not sure what to make of that. I know forwards can be inconsistent. I wouldn't be getting rid of him per se, but it's just annoying when you've got guys like Heaney, who's been pretty consistent, getting over 90s every week. Speakino getting hundreds every week. So if you look at English is averaging 115 over the first 3 games, and Heaney is averaging 107.7 over the first 3 weeks, and obviously 200s in the 95 and that big 120. Now Butters only averaging 92 over the first 3 weeks with obviously those 2 poor scores. So he's got a couple of good games coming up. In Carlton's actually going to be tough. Normally we're used to saying that Carlton are an easy matchup, but Carlton are very, very good this year, as we know. So that's not an easy matchup. West Coast, hopefully be an easier matchup. St Kilda, not a bad matchup. Then you got the Bulldogs, a bit tougher than North Melbourne and Geelong. So a bit of a mixed bag there. So because there is 700k, if he doesn't probably do one next couple of weeks, you could think of moving him to an English or a Heaney, or if DeGoey comes back in or something like that, or even if like a Luke Parker gets DPP, you could move to someone like him. But yeah, I would. It's disappointing, but because everybody's got him, I think that he should be okay. So let's hope that he can get back on track next week. Angus Brayshaw with a 70. Looked good early, had 8 touches in the first half of the first quarter, but then it dried up a little bit. I know there weren't many high-scoring Melbourne players last night. Only Gorn was the only player over 100. And the next player of note, really, for people was Petrarca at 77. So unless you had Gorn, your other Melbourne players probably didn't perform what you wanted them to do. And Angus Brayshaw get defender status. He was playing in defence the whole game. He is lined up there essentially the whole year, obviously, especially after Salem went down. So he'll get defender status, but his break-even was 21. He got a 70. He's probably going to go up like 30, 40K again. He's going to be around 700, if not above 700K. So it's going to be too expensive, I think, to really be an option. But if he can show what he showed in round 3 and do it more consistently, he could be in the mix for a top 6 defender spot. So just keep an eye on him. But I don't know if he's going to be that top 6 option that maybe we thought after the first couple of weeks after he has been pretty consistent. But so when Sonny comes back, maybe he goes back to a wing and doesn't score as much for us as in round 3. Clayton Oliver, 68. So it shocked me a little bit that he only got 68 because he wasn't taken by Drew. Melbourne dominated the game, and I thought Oliver would have scored a lot higher, but he only got 68. He only had 19 touches. I barely noticed him, really. So a bit of a slap in the face to his coaches because they probably thought, oh, Melbourne won the game pretty convincingly. He would have scored quite well. But no, it didn't translate into a good score. So, unfortunately, Oliver he has these games where he only gets a 70, and you sort of think, what happened there? Sometimes he gets tagged and he gets a poor score, but then other times he gets a poor score and you just think, where were you? Like, why were you not getting the ball? So, yeah, I don't know, just bad game. He's got Ash and De Boer next week. I'm not sure who's going to get tagged and whatever, but just something to keep an eye on if you do own him as well. So, yeah. Jackson Mead, 57. Solid if you had him. Cash generation would be good. Break in only 5. Obviously, you go up a fair bit in coin. You'll probably go up, maybe 40K. So you'd be pretty happy with him getting a 50. Hopefully, he can hold his spot for you next week. He wasn't the worst port player on the ground, that's for sure. I did notice him a little bit with the flashy green boots. So, yeah. Mike Eade, it's Michael. I know it's AFL, but thoughts on 10. Michael, mate, what's going on, mate? Ten Hag, mate, good manager. Man United need him. So, yeah, Man United are rabble. Jake Bowie, 42. Unfortunately, for 16.7% of the coaches that own him, he didn't deliver. Unfortunately, after round 1, when he got a 38, it was a possibility that he could have thrown up under 60 score. I know he got a 125 and 78 in his last 2. He had a low break even. He's rising up in cash, but unfortunately, this score is going to stunt that cash growth a lot because his break even would have been probably in the 30s, I would imagine, maybe in the 20s. So, okay, 11. So he had a break in 11, got like 15K, 20K maybe. He's going to be about 500K, but unfortunately, because that low score, and he had that low score in round 1, his breaking probably next week is going to be like 55 or 60 maybe. So unfortunately, he was the 5th most trading player this week. And obviously, if you went Gorn down to, or Witts, for example, down to Preuss, and then you went a Skinner up to Bowie, it was probably, if it was me, that's a good move because you're getting in a player that's looked good the last 2 weeks. You're getting rid of Skinner who's not playing, and you're putting McCartan on your bench, and you're getting Preuss, who was hopefully going to stay near Gorn. But unfortunately, that's probably not going to work out this week because McCartan or O'Driscoll or someone like that might even score 40 this week. And well, you'd hope they score 40. And then you've come out, unfortunately, on the other end. But unfortunately, that's fantasy. Unfortunately, you've got to take some risks. And unfortunately, the Bowie one hasn't quite worked this week. But he could still do well next week. So, yeah, I don't know if I'd trade him just based on this game. I'll probably hold for another week. But if he does bad next week, then I'd obviously look at moving him on. Ollie Wines subbed out at halftime with suffering from nausea on 36. I don't know the ins and outs of the situation with this, but if he was sick before the game, because apparently he was sick throughout the game and he only played a half, right? So he only played about half of about at 27 or 54 minutes, I think it was. If he was sick before the game, why was he not a late out? Because I know Port had to win the game, but wouldn't you rather bring in a player and then if a player gets injured, then you can sub them out instead? Like there's emergencies there for a reason. They're meant to be there for if a player gets sick, if they get injured in the warm up, anything like that. Again, I don't know the ins and outs situation. So maybe Wines felt sick midway through the first quarter and he felt fine. Maybe, I don't know, he ate something before the game. I don't know. But if he was sick before the game, I think it would have been smarter for Port to have not played him and had him as a late out, which his coaches could have then done something with that. But again, I know that footy clubs don't think about fantasy as the first thing on their mind. But as us fantasy coaches, we suffer from, unfortunately, stuff like that. So, unfortunately for Ollie Wines, unfortunate for his coaches that own him. And, because he was a really good pod. He started really well. He's averaging over 110. He's one of the big premiums over 900k that was actually getting over 100 every week. So yeah, unfortunate for owners. But and then McEntee got 36 as well. Didn't notice him much. He could probably be out of the team next week, unfortunately. So not going to make that cash you wanted. So let's get into the rest of the weekend forecast. So we'll start with tonight with Geelong and Brisbane. So first off, I'll talk. So Sander Conning. So again, most we're going to have on the bench. Got a 20 in round one. Obviously got concussed and then got a 32 last week. Hopefully he can get a 50 plus this week to keep his cash generation going, because his break even this week, I believe, is about 20 points. So yeah, it's 20. So that's going to mean that his cash generation is not much, because he's only scored a 20 and a 32. So hopefully get a 50, get his break even back under 10 and continue to make that cash for us, because I don't think he's actually worth very much. I think he's only just over, I think he's 200k? No, he's only 193. So he only went up 3k last week. So he hasn't gone up much. So hopefully he can get some better score tonight and go get more money for us. Tom Stewart, 102 last week against Collingwood. Played well. Again, 75 from 6% game time the week before. So that's obviously not the worst, but obviously was off the ground with the buddy celebration. So hopefully he can continue this. You know what you're going to get from him. If you don't have a lot of money and you can't reach a Dougherty or a Shaw or a Hall, you've probably got, I think, the two best options under 800k is probably, well, Crisp is just done if you don't have Crisp, and I wouldn't mind going for him. But like probably Stewart and Dawson are probably the two. I'd probably go Dawson just because I think Dawson's got the high ceiling and can be that top six defender, where I think Stewart's probably going to get more 90s, 85s, 95s to be around the top six, but maybe not in the top six. And obviously you've got Jack Sinclair as well, who's a bit cheaper, that could potentially be an option as well for you. But yeah, Tom Stewart probably not going to get much cheaper than what he is now. So not the worst option to bring in if you've got all the other guys and you're looking for a defender. Mitch Duncan will likely drop on 800k, so he's still got to break in, I think, over 120, so which is good. Up to his game from 75% in round two in his first game back to 86% last week, so that was good. Obviously, he got 90 last week, got an 80 in his first game back, so we're seeing that gradual increase in game time and scoring, so which is good for us. Not, I don't think many people got him at all, so hopefully we can continue to see him improving, and he'll be an option for us soon, because he'll obviously bring under 800k, started over 820, I think it was. So yeah, will be definitely, I think he'll be a top six forward, and he'll be an upgrade target for us over the next month or so. Dane Zorko, half-back role, looks very good playing it. Obviously got another 100 last week. He was subbed out again early, so he's getting over 100 in like 75% game time, and he would normally play around the 85-ish mark. So again, he's just working through this calf thing. It's not an injury. It's just a because he had a, I don't know what the surgery they said it was called, but it's just a really weird and painful one apparently. So I certainly wouldn't want to have it, that's for sure. But he obviously needed to have it. But yeah, he'll get defender status after round 5 the way he's playing that halfback role. So yeah, I think he'll be a top 6 defender if he gets that status. So yeah, keep an eye on him for sure over the next couple of weeks. And Lockie Neal, the big one. So O'Connor's back in the team this week. Tagged Lockie Neal in round 2 last year for a 51, and then he didn't tag Lockie Neal in round 15, I think it was last year, and he got a 106. So I would imagine that based on Turner tagging Neal last week and it succeeding in a way, even though they got North Melbourne still got belted, but Lockie Neal is, you can put your house on it pretty much. He's going to get tagged by O'Connor unless Scott goes nut. We're just going to go Dangerfield, Selwood head to head with. Well, Selwood's not playing tonight, actually. Sorry, we're just going to go Dangerfield head to head with Neal or something like that. But I'd imagine O'Connor's going to tag, and hopefully Neal can get some tackles and get enough touches to get his 100 score. But I would not be putting in VC. I wouldn't be putting captain, just because of that risk that he could score poorly tonight. But hopefully minimum 85. That'd be what you'd be hoping for. And yeah, other players to watch. Daniel Rich, again, if you're looking for a defender, he's not the worst option, but it's similar to Stewart. You know what you're going to get from him. He doesn't have the ceiling of the 120, 130 that a lot of these other defender guys have, like Short, Crisp, Whitfield, Hole, guys like that. Dougherty. I should have said Dougherty first. But yeah, not the worst option. Dangerfield, not another bad option as well, but that's probably more a draft one, because he's just in a weird price range that you're not really looking at in Classic. You've probably got like guys like Tom Green and like even maybe like an Adam Chera. Taylor Adams was an option before. Obviously, he's out this week around there, so that will be more consistent. So if Dangerfield got forward status, that'd be different. I just don't think he will. Cam Guthrie, again, if you've got him, watch out for him. He should hopefully be better tonight. Hasn't been great to start the year. Jared Lyon's got a 120 last week. Look back to his best last week. But again, Neil did get a little bit of a niggle and got tagged. So Lyons was allowed off the leash. So I was hoping Lyons to get forward status, but I don't think that's going to happen now. And Noah Answorth, if you've got him as your D6, he's ticking along quite nicely. He got a 66 and 71 his last two, and then the 57 in round one. So not bad scores for your D6, and probably one's gone a little bit on the radar. You wouldn't have brought him in, but if you started with him, he's been pretty good. So Sydney North Melbourne is the next game. That is the first game on the Saturday. So you've got, first up, I'll look at, so Jason on Francis. So David Noble did say early in the week that he wanted to see him up forward because he can take a mate and kick a goal. He's strong in the air. So that means we could see less CBAs. He's been upwards of 55% in the last two games. Obviously, last week he was starting on Neil, and then Turner would go into the centre and then start him. But then obviously second half he was just, Horn France was just in midfield. I think potentially still with some guys out in their midfield, he could still be in the guts. But I think with Dave Unit coming in, maybe he comes in with, and then you've got Simkin, and then Greenwood. So maybe Horn France doesn't get the 6%. He probably still go to some, but I just don't know if he's got that high midfield time. And maybe he's not going to score great because Sydney's a tough matchup. The SCG. I think at the moment he's on my bench. I think, but he might come on. I'm not sure, but. Yeah, just something to think about there. So Paddy McCartan, you've got, it's a great matchup on paper, but apparently it's meant to be raining or light rain throughout the game. So normally you think 50 plus this week, North Melbourne, good matchup, should take some marks, but with light rain expected, it could be a bad score on the way. So if you've got a guy like O'Driscoll, I would play him. If you've got a Jake Stein, I'd play him over McCartan this week, I think. But if you've got no one else, then you might play McCartan. But yeah, it might not be pretty. But then again, I could be wrong. So let's just see. So, but yeah, I'm not sure if you have a great score on the weekend. But as I said, it's a good matchup. Luke Parker last week played the majority of the game in the midfield, so that's not going to do his chance of getting forward status any good at all. Hopefully, he can play a bit more forward this week, and he can get that forward status in round. In round. Or not. It was a bit of a hiccup, but no. Anyway. Hopefully, he can get forward status, and he'll be hopefully around the top six forward for us. So, yeah, hopefully, he plays more forward. Nick Blakey, priced at 584. The Lizard is an option. 1K more than McInerney's starting price. So, it just shows whereabouts he's at. He's got 80 back-to-back 81s to start the end, then a 106 last week. McInerney coming in could mean that it goes back to the 80s, but I still think he's a great option. They want to get the ball in his hands. He's taking kick-ins, so his floor isn't as low as guys like a McCartan who's not taking any kick-ins. So, again, solid option to bring in. I think he's probably the pick of those guys under 600K. If you had the money, I probably would have gone him over Bowie. I'd go him over Will Day because you've only seen 1 week of Will Day. I'd go him over Zach Williams because Zach Williams got a 30 in week 1, and then he's got back-to-back scores over 98. So I wouldn't trust him. There's too many guys back there. Dougherty's the guy there. And you've got like Sards back in this week. So, but yeah, break into 36 of Blakey. He'll make some money and hopefully he'll score well for you at the same time as well. So, good option to bring in this week. But yeah, maybe McInerney coming in could mean it's not over 100, but North Melbourne, good matchup. He's got West Coast next week and then Hawthorn. So he's got three good matchups in his next 3. So, Callum Mills got 78 last week. I'm keeping an eye on him because, again, I'm still bullish on him potentially being a top 8 to 10 midfielder this year. He can average, I think, 110 from going forward. Hang on. I don't know why my headphones go flat. Like, they're plugged in. They shouldn't need a battery. It does my head in. I just need to charge my headphones more before I go on stream. Simple as that. Get ready. Get more paired bowls. Yeah, anyway, Callum Mills, 110 average, I'm thinking from here on in. Top 8 to 10 mid is a possibility. So I'm hoping that if he has one more bad game, I won't be too angry because he's got a break in at 133. He's now under. Is he now under 875K? Let's have a look. So yeah, Callum Mills only 873 now. So he'll be near 850 next week. And of those guys that are priced under 900K, when you look at it, he's probably one of the best options in terms of like who can average 110 plus from here. Like you've got guys like, so Josh Kelly could be really good from here. You've got Lockie Neal and Cripps, who are both at rising in price, but they're going obviously up, whereas Mills is going down. Bont, but then Dunkley being there, Bont hasn't scored well in the past with Bont and that. And then you've got like Walsh and Tom Mitchell, both under 900k. Mitchell obviously struggled. Hopefully, he can get those CBAs up and score better. And then Walsh obviously getting his way back to fitness. So yeah, and I think Walsh should be really good this year. So yeah, they're both but Mills is the guy that I'm looking at strongly this week because he could be my upgrade next week if I'm looking at upgrading the midfield. So yeah, and then other players to watch. Isaac Heaney has been really good to open the season, doing exactly what we wanted to. He's looking as good as he ever has. So I would imagine he'll keep this up against North Melbourne. Aaron Hall hasn't been great the last two. It's been 92 and 86. Hopefully, he can get back on track. Sydney a bit of a tougher matchup, but again, it's Aaron Hall. I think he'll be good this week. Tristan Sherry, great first call last week, 38 points. Eased off a little bit after that and only got a 79, but you're not complaining with a 79 from a guy that you probably picked up at the start of the year or you picked up last week or the week before for really cheap. So he's safe to play in your field. And if you've got Preuss, hopefully Preuss can play for you this week and next week, and then he'll be able to be Sherry will be able to be switching to your ruck, so you've got that flexibility in case Preuss is out or whatever. So Jai Simkin again didn't have. Wait, was it last week? Didn't have the great game. Because he's literally a roller coaster. Simkin. He keeps going like good game, bad game, good game, bad game. So Simkin last week, I can't remember what he got. So I think he got 100 last week. Yeah, he got a 116 round one, 52 round two, and then a 105 last week in a tough matchup. Hopefully, he can do good again this week. But again, you just probably watch him. If you own him, then you obviously hoping he does well. But I don't know if he's an option. He's just a bit inconsistent at the moment. Maybe if Cunnington does come back this year, I'm not sure if he will. Obviously, his health is priority number one. Obviously, if he comes back, that might free Simkin up a bit because Simkin's sort of the main guy there and getting all the attention. So, yeah, I'm not sure. We'll just have to see if that does happen or not. But yeah, I'm not sure. Jake Lloyd as well got a 93 last week, so he's been good in his first two games. I just don't think that 110 plus ceiling is going to be there much for him this year. There's too many guys back there. You got Campbell gets some of the ball. Blakey gets a lot of it now. Rampy, McInerney's going to be back this week. So there's a lot of guys back there. So I'm not sure. He's probably still be around the top six defenders, but I don't know if he's got that ceiling to be in the top few defenders that maybe we'd probably hoped in the preseason. Collingwood versus West Coast, Marvel, Twilight game on the Saturday. Nick Dacos, rising stuff, round three. Again, another 26 touches, 89 points. He's the best rookie that we've got. He's just performing well week in, week out. He might play more midfield time this week because obviously to go in Adams being out, I think that was flagged a little bit by him in the week. Hopefully he does because he'll score, I think, really well if he does. Hopefully I think he should still gain defender status regardless of how much he plays in the midfield because he's played essentially exclusively there over the first 3 rounds. So he should have enough and that'll solve a lot of problems. So that's why I'll go into more depth in my trades, but that's why I'm not downgrading a ruck and I'm holding McCartan or O'Driscoll on my field for the next 2 weeks just because I think that Dacos will be a good the saviour for our problem there. But yeah, should be good this week. Patrick Nash. Now, not many people got him. I've got him. I'm very happy with that. You got to big up the good choices that you do make, and there were some bad choices I made this year. Paddy Nash looks like a good choice to start with this year. He's only owned by I haven't actually checked his ownership this week. So his ownership now is 4.2%. I'm not sure. A few people brought him into it. I'm not sure if I'll be bringing him in now, and I'm not just saying that because I've got him. I don't want anyone else to have him, but he's 441k now. Like he's got to break into 1, which means if he gets another 70 or whatever, he's going to go up near close to 500k, right? But I just don't know if he's going to be in the team for the next 10 weeks. He's going to be all the Eagles players are coming back now, and when they're all back, is he going to be in their best team? I sort of worked it out the other day with my mate on the phone, and I looked at who will come back in the side, I thought, and who will drop out. And Nash was one of the guys that, unfortunately, I just thought he would eventually make way for those guys coming back. But again, they were talking about Campbell Chester in the preseason taking that wing role and being in the team with everyone healthy. So maybe maybe Nash is the guy that plays that role and is on the wing. So he's played well in the first 3 weeks, especially because he's only been there. He was training with St Kilda 6 weeks ago. He wasn't even on the West Coast lists 5 weeks ago. So yeah, well, no, it was about 5 weeks ago actually. Yeah, so yeah, hopefully he can continue what he's been doing. I'm not sure if I'd be bringing him in now, but he's going to make money. So yeah, if you are really hot on him, then I guess you can look at. I just think he's too expensive at this point now. Brady Grundy. So with Preuss obviously turning up last week, people moving off from him and Gawn. 3200 coach to trade him out this week. Scored a 120 and 129 his last two against West Coast. So, and Nick Naitanui does give up some points to rucks, obviously, because the rucks can get more around the ground. Nick Naitanui doesn't play heavy game time like guys like Gawn and Grundy do. Like the 80%, he plays like 65 to 75% at best. So hopefully Grundy can get his first ton of the year this week. He's got close 2 weeks out of 3. And we saw Gawn last night. He got a 140. I was sort of all week I'd had Gawn out of my team. I changed yesterday. I was like, I've been stubborn with my set and forget, and I thought I'm still going to stick by my guns there because you're going to have to get him in at some point, and hopefully Grundy can go big this week. It'd be weird if it would be funny if for coaches that held that if Gawn and Grundy in the same week go 120 plus, and then a lot of coaches move both of them on. So over the last 2 weeks, you had Gawn was traded out by 4,000 coaches this week. He's traded out by a lot last week, and then same with Grundy. So you're going to have nearly 20,000 coaches that have made a move. Over 20,000 that have made a move of Gawn or Grundy out for Preuss. And yeah, so I think Preuss is still a good option to bring in. I'm definitely not saying that, but yeah, I'm hoping that Grundy can get back on track. I've got, I don't know if I've got a hair or something there, but it's a bit annoying. Pat Lipinski, if you've got him, I wouldn't be trading him out this week. Adams and Degoe both out. He'll play plenty of CBAs this week, I think. He'll score well. Got a 117 in round one with 30 touches. I think we could see potentially something very similar of that this week, and he'll be the main guy in there with Pendlebury. So, yeah, I think he'll be quite good. So I'd be holding him at least this week. But obviously, you probably thought he was going to have a lot of CBAs after the first game, but he looks to have, when Collingwood are all healthy, he looks to be fourth in the pecking order behind Crisp, Adams, and Degoe. And then Pendlebury's also there as well, who attends some. But yeah, just something to take into account if you're looking at trading him this week, because I'll be holding him. Reece McInnes, solid debut last week at 59. Solid downgrade option. I think out of him and O'Driscoll, I'd probably go O'Driscoll because O'Driscoll's got defender status, so you can play him in defence. And I think their job security is very similar. I think that Reece McInnes might not be in the team because Bo Mcrae is only a few weeks away now. Obviously, had that, I don't know what injury he had, but he was out for about a month. He's been out for this week's second week, so he could be back within a fortnight. There's a few other guys. Ash Johnson's banging the door down the VFL, kicked 4 goals, 3 and looked insane on the weekend in the VFL. So he might not be in the team long term. That's why I haven't bitten the bullet and brought McInnes in. But if you're looking at a downgrade option, I think he's the next best guy behind O'Driscoll. And then obviously Marcus Windhager from St Kilda is not another bad option, but I want to see Windhager for a game first. Because I don't obviously you don't want to bring in a player for 1 week and then they get dropped. You'd rather, worst case scenario, you'd want to bring him in like McInnes, get dropped next week. They get a 60 this week. There's still 260, 270. So you can still make a bit of a chunk of change going down to another rookie. Whereas if they're 205K, it's a bit of a waste to trade them out. That's why I went Skinner out this week, because I just thought this is the best week to get rid of Skinner because there's nothing else for me to do, and I'm not going to get rid of him if I don't get rid of him this week. So, yeah. Other players to watch, Scott Pendlebury. Hopefully, he'll play, I think, a lot of midfield this week. He probably should still get defender status, so could be in the mix for those top 6 defender guys. Luke Foley, if you're still rocking him as your D6, hopefully you can do better than Bowie with the 42. Again, one big quarter is really saving him at the moment, so I'm hoping that he can have a couple of good quarters this week, and then obviously his coaches will be a lot more happy. But yeah, he's only having the one good quarter to save his scores. So, and he might not be in the team over the next couple of weeks. He might move out because with all these guys come back. So just something to watch. Alex Witherden has been good, more a draft watch. He's been good. So I think he'll have another good game against Collingwood, who should go big this week. Jack Crisp, hopefully will play. Well, he'll play. I think he'll play heavy midfield this week. So hopefully you can translate that into a good score. He's obviously had a couple of duds out of the first 3 rounds. Last week he was on 41 at 3/4 time, and he got a 42 point last quarter. Sorry, maths isn't very good. To save his score. So hopefully he can get a good score this week and score over 100 because he needs to do it. Because if he doesn't, it's 3 weeks out of 4 that he's gone under 100, and then that's going to be very frustrating for coaches. So, and he knows as well that he's not scoring well. He's him and his wife have put videos up about that. Obviously, if you know, you know. And then Hugh Dixon and Brady Hoff both kept their spot. I think Hugh Dixon and Brady Hoff probably only got this week, and that's it. I think they'll be out of the team next week when a few more guys come back. So hopefully they can score well enough, make a little bit more money, and then you can move them on next week and make a little bit of coin going them down to someone. So Richmond Bulldogs. So you've got from this game, Jaden Shaw, poor 68 in round 1, but since then he's been big as well. 131, 118 his last 2. He looks very good. 105.7 average over the first 3 games now. Obviously equals out that 68 in round 1. I've been probably not as hot on Shaw as what everyone else has because I've owned him in the past and he's gotten some poor scores with 60s and 70s when you expect him to do well. He normally plays better against the hard matchups, funny enough, than in the easier matchups because he takes a lot more kick-ins, gets a lot more of the ball because in their defense a bit more. If he gets another over 100 this week, then obviously I'll probably change my tune a bit, and then I'll be like, yeah, he's definitely a great option. I still think he's a good option, very good option to bring in. I'm probably still just not with the crowd yet in terms of everyone else thinks he's very, very good and a great option, probably the best option to have besides Dougherty, whereas I would still prefer Dawson personally because I know I'm not talking Crow's bias here. I just personally think that Dawson will be more consistently over 90 than what I think Short will. I think Short can still give you some 70s, even with the kick-ins, but I could easily be wrong. So this is just a personal opinion. I would rather Short. I think Short would still be in my top 6 at the moment. But yeah, it's still good option to bring in. But yeah, I don't know. Just I don't know. I probably would just pick Dawson ahead of him. But that's just personally. You save what 50k? I think you do as well. So it's not a little bad amount of money that could get you what the trade you want next week. So Jack Mcrae, dirty -1 point in his last quarter last week. He's named on a wing in the team as well, which isn't great. So hopefully he plays midfield this week and score well. He's probably going to be my VC. I could still go Dunkley. I'm still thinking of Dunkley as my VC, but I just think Mcrae's got to bounce back. I think there was a stat today that in the last 3 years, he's only played like 3 games where he's played on the wing. So yeah, I don't know. Mcrae's just a weird one. It's just I really hope that he can play better this week. I really do. I really do. Because owners do need it. And he's got a good record against Richmond as well. Averages 116.9 in his 9 career games against them and averages 120.1 in his career 15 games, the MCG. So you look at those numbers, you're like, brilliant, captain option, 100%. But you can't trust him as a captain option this week. Based on what you saw in the last call last week, we've seen that Mcrae can go on a wing and he can be the Sookie Mcrae and not touch the ball much. But I'm hoping he goes back in the midfield this week and bounce back. Because if he doesn't, I would be an advocate for potentially looking at trading him next week because you've got guys like Tom Green and Ryan. Thank you. You're in the house, mate. Vlosten could affect Shaw a lot. Yeah, that's another thing as well. People got to think about. I don't think anyone's really talking about that, but Vlosten not being in the team is giving Shaw an extra probably 10 to 15 points because Vlosten does take kick-ins. We've seen this. He takes 5 or so kick-ins a game. It's normally like a 60-40, 70-30 split between him and Vlosten with kick-ins. So I still think maybe those 130s could be 120s and then the 100s could be 90s, 85s with Short. So that is just something to keep an eye on. So thank you, Ryan, for that with us trying to go against Short. But yeah, I don't know. We'll have to see how he goes with Boston in the back in the team. But yeah, and the reason I said Ryan as well because I know he's a big fan of Tom Green. If he was doing his team this year, he would have had Tom Green in his team already. But if guys like Mcrae and I know Took can have obviously strong for only 1 week. Took was obviously only bad for last week, but Todd Mitchell as well. When you've got guys like this over 900k, okay, there we go. Folks, I don't know why I did that. When you've got guys over 900k doing that, but then you've got a guy like Tom Green who's 745k, but he started at around 600k, a score averaging 116 over the first 3 rounds and a scoring consistently over 100 and getting big 130s and 110s and whatever. You make if you went Mcrae to Tom Green this week, so Mcrae is currently, I think he's at 930, 931, right? And Tom Green's at 745. You could make yourself nearly 200K by going Mcrae to Tom Green, right? It's a lot of money, a lot of money. And are they going to be much different? Based on what you've seen, Tom Green's going to be better. So, but you'd imagine Mcrae's going to bounce back. But if he doesn't, he will be on the chopping block for a lot of people this week. Josh Dunkley, as I said, a very, very, very good option for VC. 3 tons out of 3 to start the year. 132 last week with 11 tackles. He's back to his best, back to what he looked like the first half of last year. Richmond, good matchup, should be good. And he's the best VC option. I'm probably going a bit different to go Mcrae and then probably going into a guy like Paddy Cripps on the Sunday. Speaking of English, Tim English has been great this year. 138 last week, averaging 115 over the first 3 games. I wouldn't be going him to Preuss, obviously. If you've got like a rookie in your forward line, I would be an advocate of switching English into your forward line and getting Preuss into your ruck. Like maybe going, I don't like getting rid of Rochelle now, but you could go Rochelle to Preuss and switch him in your ruck. And I think Preuss will be better long term than what Rochelle will, even though I love Rochelle, being a Crows fan. I think he'd be a great player. You could go a guy like Rowe. If you've got a Ward on your bench, you could do that. You've got plenty of options if you've got English. So English has been great. He's not a bad option as well if you went a Grundy or Gorn down to Preuss and then you went a rookie up to English, because you've got that flexibility of if Preuss doesn't play, you've got English and potentially Cherry. So it's not a bad option to have all of them there. So you are locked into it would have to be an absolute catastrophe for you to with the rucks to stuff up. But we know rucks can serve that up if you trade out of the set and forget. That's why I haven't traded out the set and forget, because every year I do it, I trade one of Gorn and Grundy, or I don't start one of them, and it comes back to bite me. So that's why I've stuck strong. Funny enough, this is probably the year where they're probably not going to do what I want, and you're going to have English being the top 2 rucks. So, and Hugo Rasmus as well. If you've got the money, he's scored 60 and 67 his last 2. His cash generation is back on track after his 25 in round 1 when he was a sub. Not a bad option to bring in if you've got that extra cash, because I think he can be in the team long term, make some decent money, and not the worst option to play on your field either. So could consider that. Daniel Rioli as well, not bad option. 530 odd K this week. Got a 78 last week. He's been good last 2 weeks. He's looked good all year, but obviously the 58 makes people look at it and thinks that could potentially happen again. Would I have rather Rioli or Bowie? I might have gone Rioli. I don't know though. Bowie saved money for. I don't know who I would have gone out of. I'm glad I didn't have to look at that, because I don't know who I would have gone. Hopefully for you, you went a Blakey or Rioli over Bowie. But if you got Bowie, then obviously you just have to wear that, and hopefully you can do that better next week. Unfortunately, that's just fantasy for you. Some calls work, some calls don't. Unfortunately, Bowie didn't work this week. But if you brought him in after round 1, or I don't know if you would have, but you wouldn't have actually got to 38. But if you brought him after round 2, he 78 last week was solid, and the 40 wasn't great. But yeah, Bailey Smith's been great last first 2 weeks. Personally, I hope that he plays more on a wing, because he's a great player. Don't get me wrong; he's going to be a great midfielder for the Dogs. But Mcrae needs to be in there. Mcrae needs to be in there. So hopefully, and Bass was great on a wing as well. He's got great speed. He's got very good ball use. He can break lines, which is what you like. Mcrae's not suited for a wing. Like, I don't know who I'm trying to convince. Like, Bevo, if you're watching, Mcrae's not a winger, man. Like, he's not quick enough. His ball use Mcrae's ball use is probably one of the best used in the AFL in terms of his kicking. Like, I love his kicks where he does across his body and it goes straight to an option. And my headphones have gone flat again. Bloody $450. Bloody, what a waste of money. Keep going flat all the time. They're meant to last for a long time, and they certainly don't. Maybe I just don't charge them for long enough. Anyway, yeah, hopefully Basement's on a wing, because he's better on a wing. Mcrae's not a winger. Let's get Mcrae back in the guts after 1 quarter and put Bailey Smith on the wing or something. Adam Treloar as well. He's been good this year. 88's his worst score. So, yeah, I think he'll be good. He'll be a top 6 forward. If you're looking at bringing him in this week, he's, again, not a bad option. Hopefully, though, I'm just hoping that their midfield 3 is Bont, Mcrae, and Dunkley, and then maybe Libber's the 4th guy. But obviously, Treloar is, we're hoping that that's not the case. But I just want Dunkley and Mcrae in there all the time. So if there's Bont even out and it's Treloar in there, fine. I don't care. Just get Dunkley and Treloar in there. Dunkley and Mcrae in there, and I'll be happy. But Dunkley's been in there a lot and he's been good. So yeah, and then Bont as well hasn't been great with. He's not normally good with Dunkley in the team. Got 196 and 100 in his first 3 games. So not what you wanted from him. If you've got him, I would consider moving him on for an option. You could get a Tom Green and make some money. So, or even a Cripps who's looking amazing as well. So Fremantle and GWS. So you got O'Driscoll, Nathan O'Driscoll. If you brought him in this week or last week, I think he's still a very good option. He's probably my pick of the downgrade options because I think you can hold his spot for a few weeks. He's played well, and he's been around the squad from the preseason and in the team from round 2 when he was a sub. Was he? No, was he sub in round 1? No, he was sub in round 2. That's right, sub in round 2, and then he played the full game last week, got a 60, I think. Yeah, he did. Yeah. But yeah, I think he'd be a good option, named on the back pocket as well, which is good. And they have dropped some other players to keep him and Erasmus in the team. So hopefully O'Driscoll can be in the team for a bit. Even if it's just this week, next week, that'll be brilliant for people that have McCartan as D6. You can play O'Driscoll for a couple of weeks, and then you'll have Dacos there in a couple of weeks. So, and you can swap O'Driscoll and Dacos because they're both defender mids. So that's an option there. So Andrew Brayshaw, you can lock in the fact he's getting tagged this week by De Boer and Lockie Ash, maybe one or both. I don't normally advocate for trading premiums out, especially this early in the season, right? Especially one that's been great to start the season. But if you've got nothing to do, and a thing that I would potentially look at is you could move Andrew Brayshaw. If you don't have Cripps, I think that's a very good option to go Brayshaw down to Cripps because I think Brayshaw will start losing a bit of money because I don't think he'll score great this week. You could go Brayshaw. How much is it going Brayshaw to Cripps? So Brayshaw is 972. Cripps is 810. You make yourself 160k, 162k by going him Brayshaw down to Cripps, and you make a lot of money. And I think Cripps will score better this week, right? If you've already got Cripps, I would potentially look. You could get a guy like a Tom Green, and you can make yourself 230k this week by going Brayshaw to Cripps. So Brayshaw to Tom Green, and Tom Green's got a break even of 51, is it? Or 48 or something? I think it's quite low. So 51, right? So he's going up in price. Brayshaw's break even, on the other hand, is a 103. And if he gets a 60 or a 70 or an 80, he's going down. He's going to go down in price. Just something to look at. If you've got other stuff to do, this is a luxury move. I'm not talking about you should be doing this. You've got Brayshaw and you've got other stuff. This is a luxury move, but it was something that I wouldn't be opposed to doing but Brayshaw, I don't think he's going to get 120 this week. So, and it'd be interesting to see what Brayshaw's next couple of games are. So Brayshaw's next couple of games is, so Essendon, Mcrae could go to him. That's an option. Carlton, Hewitt could go to him. And then Geelong, you've got O'Connor could go to him. And then North Melbourne, you've got Turner could go to him. So Brayshaw could be honestly tagged over the next 5 weeks. And then we've seen even Gold Coast. We've seen Holman tag in the past as well against guys. So just something to, and we've seen Swallow as well do runward rolls. So just that's something that you could look at if you've got a luxury move. So it could make you a lot of money in the same process. Will Brodie, finally, 83% game time. Finally played over 65%. No Fife money or Sarong did help. Maybe Longmuir not coaching helped as well, potentially. I don't know. He won't be there again this week, so Will Brodie hopefully will play a lot more game time again. I guess we'll just see when Longmuir comes back in the team. But apparently people said he did look gassed towards the end of the game. But to be honest, I'm not too fussed. Like if he's gassed, it's good. It means he's working hard, means he's doing what he needs to, and hopefully scoring well at the same time. So hopefully he can keep it above 80%. Moving forward, 75% at the very worst, hopefully. So Braden Price, the man that Juicy Preussy that everyone's been talking about. So 4,362 coaches brought him in last week. Over 20,000 coaches have brought him in this week, I think, or it was under, but now it's probably over 20,000 coaches have brought him in this week. Very good option. He got a 108 last week. He's a solo ruck again. The only thing that put me off as well, the fact that he with the solo ruck, is that it was who was it? Leon Cameron said midweek that they were looking potentially at bringing Flynn in this week. So there's no reason to think that Flynn can't come in next week. That'd be the only concern, and that's obviously the concern with these Giants rucks. We've seen this in the past with Jacobs and Mumford and Flynn and Briggs and all these guys. Right, Giants do weird things with their rucks. They bring guys in after one game. They drop guys after one game. I think it's still a very good option to bring in, whether that's on your bench or on your field. That's obviously up to you. I've gone the bench option, bring him on the bench, and I'm trying to get on my computer how many people have brought in Preuss this week. So people that have brought in Preuss this week, it's up over 20,000. It's 20,600. I would imagine that a few people have probably now done that switch of Grundy out and kept Gawn because they didn't want to trade Gawn after only the one game. But yeah, he's still a good option to bring in. I think it's still a good move to bring him on the bench as well because I think he will make a lot of cash. And around the buys, you go him down to 190k rookie. You can make yourself 400-500k depending on how high he gets up in price, and then that could do you a couple of upgrades in 1 week. Other players to watch, Tom Green as well. I can't believe I missed Tom Green. So Tom Green, 133, 102, 114 in his first 3 games. Those are numbers that you look at, and if Mcrae got, and you'd be like, good start to the year. You'd be very happy. He's now risen 143k in price. He is up to 745k now. His CBA's improved also last week from being under 50% to 66%, which is a great sign. Obviously, articles are coming out during the week saying he thinks he can dominate the game with massive confidence from him. I love it. If I didn't have this sort of bring Preuss in and I had free trades this week, I'll be bringing Tom Green in this week. I think he's a great option to bring in. I could still, if I wanted to, I could go Mcrae down to Tom Green, which is not a bad option because it makes you near 200k. When you think of it, it's a good option. It really is. Because Mcrae could still play. Mcrae could play on a wing this week and get a 70, and Tom Green could play midfield again and get 100. So, and there's 200k difference. So, yeah, I'm not sure. I probably won't do that, but it is a good option to do. That's for sure. Other players to watch as well. Tim Taranto has been great. We didn't think he was going to be as good to start the year, but he's been lights out good, averaging 119 over the first 3 weeks. He's great. He's probably the number one forward. Stephen Connellio was good last week. Only had 3 CBAs, but still got a 113. I think he'll be a little bit more in the midfield this week, and he'll score well as a result, hopefully. Lockheed Whitfield, poor again, only a 91. He was on 83 at 3/4 time, on track for 100. Only had a 8-point last quarter. Didn't get involved in the junk time either, which is surprising. So, yeah, I'm not sure what's happening with Whitfield. Hopefully, he's going to go pop at some point. So, hopefully he can, and hopefully it's this week. Jake Stein, not a bad option to bring in. Steiny, just over 200k. I probably would still rather O'Driscoll. I think O'Driscoll's got a better scoring potential than what Steiny's got. But I think Stein's going to be in the team for a bit because Phil Davis out for a while. So he's not a bad option to bring in for job security. But then again, I brought Sam Skinner in for job security, and look what happened. He only scored 233. So Josh Kelly, I would imagine he's going to bounce back. But he's not getting this. He's definitely not getting as many CBAs as probably what you'd want. He's never been a guy that's got a lot of CBAs, but he can still score well. Hopefully, you can start scoring better if you've got him. But again, it's not the worst thing to move him on to a Cripps or a Tom Green or something like that. And Neil Erasmus, he's under 300k. He's, again, not another bad option to bring in as a midfielder as well. So we're getting these final 3 games, and I'll be going through your questions as well. So if you are watching live, leave your questions in the live chat, and I'll answer them once finished first 3 games. If we don't have any in live chat, I've got a couple on the article that I will go through and answer. So we've got Essendon versus Adelaide. So good game, this one. Hopefully the Crows get the job done. I'm not sure. Essendon have had 3 difficult games: Brisbane, Melbourne, and Geelong. So those 3 games, not in order, but those 3 games are tough. But Josh Rochelle, a few coaches have moved off of him this week, and I don't blame them. Like, his break-even's 27. He got a 42 last week. He's been moved on by 5.2k coaches. So, yeah, I'm not sure if he's going to continue to score like the 100 he did in round 1, but he's got Essendon and Richmond's next 2. Should score decent enough in those 2, but Yeah, is he going to make a lot more money? But the thing is, if he gets one more 80 plus scores, his breaking will be low again. He'll continue to make that money again. So I think it's probably too early to be getting rid of him. But if that's the one guy that you can get rid of and you can't afford to get in, like the other guys too low in price, like for me, I'll talk about it later, but I've got Hayes and I can't actually go him to Preuss. I have to get rid of one of Rochelle or Rowe. So yeah. But yeah, I wouldn't be getting rid of Rochelle if you can avoid it this week, but you might have to. Nick Martin, 71 last week, backed up the 130 last week. He's just a safe player to field on your ground each week. Breaking negative 31, he's rising in price very, very quickly. He's now up at, what's he now? Like 348. He'll be well over 400k next week. And he might even be near 500k in 2-3 weeks. So yeah, very, very good. One of the best cash cows for the year, that's for sure. Jordan Dawson, again, another 100 last week, as we know, with the winning goal. I think he'll be very consistent. I think he'll be a top 6 defender this year. Obviously, it just depends who we get as DPP. So, yeah, just something to watch over the next few weeks. But good option to bring in at 756k. My pick of the guys under 800k, unless you're looking at Crisp. I'd almost go Dawson over Crisp because Dawson just looked better. And yeah, and the good thing was he got tagged in the third quarter, but he moved to the back line and avoided the tag. So that is a good thing to note, because if he does get tagged in the future, he might move back and tag might fall off. So, and Jai Caldwell, interestingly, his CBA numbers went down with merit out, which doesn't make sense, but maybe Mcrae tagging that had a bit of a factor in that. Hopefully this week his CBAs can go up. If it doesn't, though, I'd be looking at moving him on after this week, because good match against the Crows. If he doesn't score well and have CBAs this week, then I'd be moving him on to someone else. You've got Andy Mcrae as well. Look at his role this week. Hopefully he can play in the defence, but he hasn't even scored great even with that, to be honest. So, but just watch him, see what he does. He might get DPP. Darcy Parish hasn't been great. Hopefully he can get back on track. More I watch for draft, because I think he's becoming more draft relevant one, because he's not scoring like a top 8 mid, and he's priced high that you can't really look at him as an option. So look at him as a draft option. Jake Stringer is very similar to with draft as well. Hopefully he can get a score better. Could potentially become an option in Classic if he can score better than what he has, obviously working his way back to full fitness. Just something to watch. Tex Wanganeen held his spot. Another downgrade option if you've got nothing else to do. I don't know if he's going to stay in the team long term with McDonald, Tip and Woody playing in the Gws for the second week in a row this week. So he might be out of the team at some point. Just I'm not sure with job security. Riley O'Brien, even though he got a 115, I would still make the move down to Preuss, because you can make money by doing that. And I think scoring will be very similar. Riley O'Brien is very up and down as well. So I would be making that move. But again, Eston, decent matchup against Draper. So he should be good again this week. Ben Keys has got a 96 last week. Not a bad score. Led back in the side. Oh, crap. I miss Roy Laird. I should have scored. Okay. And then, yeah, Ben Keys to watch this week. And Matt Crouch as well. Only played 69% game time last week, but hopefully he can go back over 70%, because he's scoring at a good rate. He got 95 out of 69% game time last week, so hopefully he can get a score better. But yeah, Roy Laird, I was meant to talk about him as one of the main players. So Roy Laird, first game back last week, had 31 touches in 68% game time and scored 90 points. So breaking to 135, he's priced at like 930 odd, I think. Roy Laird, 918, so yeah, went down nearly 20k. So he'll be under 900k, I think, this week, and hopefully he can go down a little bit more, because I think he's a very good option to bring in. He got 31 touches in 68% game time, so he could have been on. He was on track for a near 40 touch game in his first game back. So he just finds the ball. He's as one of the most consistent scorers as they come. So, and he could be a top 8 midfielder based on what we've seen. But it'd be interesting to see what happens when Sloan back in the team this week, if he can continue scoring well. So, Hawthorn, St Kilda, Sicily. James Sicily scored well last week, helped by a 45-point last quarter with to get the 101. Breaking to 42, he'll obviously go up in price again this week. Could be a keeper based on what defenders are doing, but hopefully get over 700k more to upgrade to a Dougherty, a Hall, a Crisp if you don't have him, a Whitfield if you don't have him, Shaw if you don't have him. If you don't have any of these guys, could be something to move on to. But yeah, hopefully good match against St Kilda, can score well again. Will Day, only one game, got 91. People have looked at him, 548k is cheap, breaking to 51. I'd want to see another week from him before I look really considered him an option, but could be a not bad option as a D6. Josh Ward, CBA numbers have increased over the first 3 weeks. Went to 19 of 26 CBAs last week, which is great. Looks to be getting plenty of opportunity in the midfield, and hopefully can keep scoring and be a good option for us to pan field. Tom Mitchell, 89, 98, and 87 his first 3 games. Unfortunately, he's got to go. Isn't getting the CBAs that we want from him. I would look again, breaking the 143, I would definitely be looking at moving him on. Again, move to Cripps, you make yourself 80K. Move to Tom Green, you make yourself 150K or thereabouts. So, yeah, I'd be looking at one of those 2 guys there. Or even going and getting another guy on another line like an English or a Heaney or even a Dougherty if you want to bring in a defender as well. Jack Steele, not normally would a player getting 300s in a row get criticised for it, but when you're over $1 million at the start of the year, you are going to get criticised if you're not scoring 110 plus every week. So, or even 120 in a way. So, but Hawthorn this week, they give up truckloads of points to midfielders and just teams in general, but more so midfielders. I'd be captaining Steele if you've got him this week. Should be big this week. If he doesn't go big this week, then you're going to be very disappointed because he hasn't gone over 110 all year. So, other post watch, Gresham, been getting a lot of midfield time lately. A bit of a weird price. He's just under 600K. You'd want him to be 500K, then you'd look at him, but very weird price. So the side Wanganeen Miller, unfortunately, he's just not scoring as much as what I was hoping for. He got 30 odd in a quarter and a bit against Essendon in the preseason, but he's only getting your 40s and 50s, so probably not an option to bring in. He's not going to make the cash you want. Marcus Windhager, 198K rookie. Looked good last week in the VFL, got a 111, I think. So I would want to watch him for a week, but if you can't afford McInnes or O'Driscoll, I don't think he's a bad option. You got named to play on a wing straight up, so could potentially look at bringing him in. Con McDonald's been solid, good money making cash cow on a lot of people's benches, but been scoring probably just as good as the guys on the field. Really, he got a couple of 60s in a row, very similar to Josh Ward, so he's been very good. Jack Sinclair getting plenty of midfield time, so as a defender, he is an option to bring in. So I just want to see more though, because St Kilda, the way that they've been this year, you can't trust them really. They've been doing some weird things. So hopefully Sinclair can continue this and be good. And might be an option for us to bring in. And he's an option to bring in now. He's cheap, but I'd rather 25K and get Dawson. Maybe even I'd rather get Stewart, and he's not that much more expensive either. So, and then Jack Hayes, which I'll check now actually. With that, because he's the final player we'll talk about. So Jack Hayes, if he got named this week, that'll be interesting to see if he kept his spot. So I'll run through the teams for the Sunday games. So Essendon and Adelaide. So you had Essendon, Alec Waterman, Will Snelling, and Brandon Thatcher in. So Jake String is out injured. Okay, well that makes what I talked about before with String and null and void there. Tom Cutler's out for health and safety protocols. Devon Smith out as the Medi sub, and James Stewart's injured. And then into the side for the Crows, you've got Rory Stone, Taylor Walker in. So Luke Pedler out as a Medi sub. Braden Cook dropped and Darcy Foley dropped. That's pretty much what I expected from the Crows changes. Hawthorn and St Kilda. There you go. So Jarman Impey's in. Finn McGuinness is out, dropped, and Chad Wingard's injured. Marcus Windhager is in for his debut. Jack Hines out injured, and Jack Hayes has been dropped. So yeah, unfortunately, if you've got him, if you're moving into Preussy, that's great. He's on the extended, on the emergency list. He won't be the sub, I wouldn't imagine. But yeah, if you're moving him on, that's great. Unfortunately, I can't move him on for Preussy this week, so I'm going to have to keep a non-playing player, but he'll be a downgrade option next week. I'll just downgrade him next week. And then for Gold Coast and Carlton, you got Malcolm Rosas is in for his first game of the year. Isaac Rankin and Jai Farah come in. Rory Atkins has been dropped. Jeremy Sharp has been dropped. Alex Sexton's been dropped, and Kelly Graham's also been dropped. Adam Sard comes in for Carlton. Corey Dern's out for the health and safety protocols, and Jordan Boyd has been omitted as well. So, yeah, unfortunately, Jack Hayes being in. So apparently, Wines is in hospital. Apparently, it says here. So, Wines been taken to hospital again with the power revealing on Friday that the Brownlow Mercer has been diagnosed with a heart irregularly. Okay, well, pretty much what I said before about him feeling bad before the game might have been probably, I don't know if it was over exaggerated, I don't know, but heart thing, wow, okay. So yeah, that's interesting. Okay, that's obviously very sad to hear with that. Hopefully Wines is all good. Hopefully he recovers well. But yeah, so with Gold Coast and Carlton, Toot Miller disappointing last week with a 68. Could Hewitt go to win this week? Maybe. He isn't tagged with Carlton yet, but in Toot Miller's career, averages 105.7 in his career, 9 games against Carlton. So he's been great against them. They could send Hewitt to line up on him. I don't know if they'll tag him necessarily, but I don't know if I'll be putting the C on him this week based on what he did last week. Be very nerve-wracking if you put him captain. Paddy Cripps, been great to start the year. But yeah, I say with Toot Miller as well, the other thing I said, just you'd hope that he scored well this week, being starting over $1 million. So Paddy Cripps been great, averaging 124.3 over the first 3 weeks, 138 last week. It's been great. Breaking to 51. He's going to continue to shoot up in price. I expect another good game this week against Gold Coast and another big score. And he'll be my captain this week, as he will be for probably a lot of people heading into the final game of the round. Sam Dougherty continues his great story. Another 138 last week, 33 touches with 13 marks, averaging 113 over the first 3 weeks. Got Gold Coast this week. Another big score this week will be coming, I would imagine. He's a bit expensive now, 855k. But if you're looking for a defender, I think he's the pick. I think Hall's a bit too expensive, and I think Dougherty will just continue to do what he's been doing, and that's been being very good and being an inspiration to pretty much the whole nation and everyone. That if people outside Australia watch it, just people around the world, because he's just an incredible human and continues this great story. And he's a great option to bring in, I think, as well. But he's expensive though. You're paying a price at now. Mcrae scored 87 last week. That was helped by 13 tackles. So that sort of makes me sort of worry that if he doesn't get those 13 tackles, is he going to score low? Not taking marks means that his ceiling isn't as high as what other guys' ceilings are. So he is an option that I'm looking at moving on. I probably won't make that call until tomorrow when I need to make that call with Preuss, and then Gold Coast. So Gold Coast and so it'd be Rochelle or Rouse. So I won't have to make that call until tomorrow night. So I've got a bit of time to think about that. But yeah, is definitely an option. I'm not against Coach moving on early, but he's still got a little bit of money to make. Break even of 48. So yeah, you'd imagine you still make a little bit more money. And George Hewitt, Super Huey, tackled more last week with 9, more touches, like in terms of, and so not more touches, more an even split between kicks and marks, had 14 kicks, 14 handballs, and a 119. 633k. If you don't own him, you need to bring him in. If you don't own him and you've got McCartan on your field, Grundy to Preuss, McCartan to Hewitt. Bang, you trade to sorted. That's lock it away. But I'm pretty sure a lot of people got him now. Break him to 36. He's going to continue to rise in price. He might end up being a top 6 defender. He's averaging 98.3. He's averaging a lot more than a lot of other defenders. Playing midfield, I don't see him slowing down at all. So he's probably going to be on a team for a long time and could be for the season if based on what he's doing. So, yeah, be very good. Sam Walsh, again, another guy similar to Mills, under 900k, going down in price. A guy that I'd be keeping an eye on, and could be an upgrade target in a couple of weeks. Zach Williams, back-to-back 98 plus scores, is an option to bring in. Not one of my favourites, just with that 30-odd score here, and he's shown the past he won't score great. Newman, Dougherty, Sard all back there with him. Take points off him. I'm not sure if he's going to score great again, but I guess we'll see. Gold Coast is a good matchup. Jared Witts, if you've got him, I'd be making that move down to Preuss. I'd be definitely doing that. Adam Chera got moved out to a wing with the whole with Walsh and the whole midfield being back. So that might be something we've seen, and that means his scoring won't be as high as probably what we would have hoped for, playing more in the guts. Matt Kennedy just continues to keep on keeping on. He's just been great, hasn't he? He's a very, very good player as well. He's just been very good for Carlton. So again, more for draft. He's too expensive, I think, now to bring in Classic. Even though I have never really seen an option in Classic, but he just continues to score 100. So there you go. And then Malcolm Rosas, he's 205k. He showed last year that he's not a great scorer, but if you're looking for a forward rookie and you can't afford a guy like Ralph Smith, you could look at him. So I'll get into the questions in a sec, but yeah, actually, no, I'll do my trades after, and then I'll do questions first. So, got a question. If you got some question watching live, make sure you leave them in the live chat, and I'll get to them. And also, if you're watching on replay as well, leave your comments in the comment section below, and I'll get to answering them. So, first question. So, Doug has asked. I did Richelli to Preuss as well, and couldn't get Hayes to him. So, looking like an early L for my second trade as I moved Skinner to Bowie over Nod. Thought Bowie could be a safe 2 to 3 mid-60s. So as my D6, so paid that bit extra to get him over the rook. Yeah, unfortunately with Bowie not scoring great. Yeah, I don't know if Nod will necessarily score like a heap more than 40. Like he could get a 50, and it's not me that big a deal. But obviously you're saving the coin with going Nod. So yeah, unfortunately with that. But yeah, Rashid to Preuss, yeah, I'd tick that off. Preuss is going to make a lot more money, I think. And if you can't get Hayes from myself, then yeah. So Straight Shooter says, great write up, Bailey. My trades at the moment, thanks, man. Appreciate the kind words. My trades at the moment are Marshall to Preuss and Skinner to Dawson. This gets McCartan off field and Hayden Young as my D6. Hopefully VC dunks as 130 into Crips. Yeah, hopefully you can get a 130 again. As a fellow Crow supporter, sing this one with me, please. No. Hey, goodbye. Port Power. Cheers to the content, buddy. Always helpful. Keep up the good work. Yeah, Port aren't doing great, are they? But yeah, there you go. Bobby Bouchette says, looking for some trade advice. First trade of Hayes to Preuss is pretty set, which obviously 100% you'd be doing that because Preuss obviously been dropped. Sorry, Hayes has been dropped. So you've got Richelli to Foley and then DPP Foley on. Through DPP and Foley be on field. B, Rowe to Blakey through DPP, and you've got Blakey on field, or Mcrae to Short, and then Ward from the Hawks plays on field. I don't think I'll be doing Mcrae to Short. That's a bit of a luxury one there. Rowe to Blakey sounds. I'd probably go Rowe to Blakey, just because I think Blakey will be in the team obviously, and he's scoring well. Whereas I don't see Foley being in the team long term. So I would be going Rowe to Blakey there. That'd be my option. I'd take there. Bobby, I'd be doing that. What else we got here? There you go. So Mike says, cheers, Bailey. Always informative. Only had Gawn playing last night. I didn't even consider vice-captaining him. Yeah. Unfortunately, I didn't either. I would have loved to have vice-captained Gawn last night, unfortunately. But you're just happy you got him anyway. Got a 140. So, yeah, unfortunately, no VC for Gorney last night. So Ben says, first trade is Ron Marshall to Preuss, but can't work out whether they go McCartan to Doc or Dawson and save the extra 100K for next week. Thoughts? That's a tough one because you probably say Dougherty's more set for a top 6 defender, but I would almost be saving the 100K at this point because Dougherty's going to be there. You can bring Dougherty in when you want. He's not going to go that much more up in price. He's not going to get much cheaper. Whereas Dawson, I think he'd be a top 6 defender. He's looked really good, right? I'd lean to Dawson for the extra money. I'd rather save the money at this point in the year, and that 100K could be the difference between you getting next week getting a Sinclair or getting a Dougherty. So you can get Dougherty next week, or whatever. So I'd probably go down the Dawson route. But if you go Dougherty, I'm definitely not going to hold against you. He's going to be very, very good, and he's averaging 113. And he's been very good for the first 3 weeks. But Dawson has been good as well for the take out the first half of round 1. He's been good since then. So yeah, he's also been good. Mike says, have you considered Lloyd? I just don't know with Lloyd. 103 and 93 in his first 2 games. He just doesn't have that 110 ceiling. I think he's been consistently above 90, but I just don't know if he's got that big ceiling like he has in the past. What have we got here? So Mark Fawcett says, really don't understand why people trade premiums this early, such as Gawn. Happens every single season, it seems. I'm going Richelli to Preuss via Hayes to my forward line. Would be good to have the DPP with Hayes and English if ever needed. Loophole gone with my current rank at 647 right now and before the loophole score. Yeah, like I don't normally trade prems either. If you've got nothing to do and going Gawn to Preuss, and then if that gets McCartan off your field and it gets a Dougherty on your field, I would tick that off because you're getting Preuss and Dougherty over Gawn and McCartan, which you'd think that Preuss and Dougherty will score better. So there are situations where trading prems at a time can work, but if you can, I normally try and avoid trading them out because they normally do come back to bite you at some point unless they're injured or suspended or something like that. So, but Rochelle to Preuss, if you've got Hayes and you can afford going Hayes to Preuss, I would still do that move because Hayes isn't playing, Rochelle's making money. So I would do it. But if you want to keep Hayes, then it's not a bad option because, again, as you said, you can switch with English if you ever need, which obviously you've said as well. So I might have to finish this up soon. I'm starting to yawn a bit. What have we got here? So got a long one here. So Kulu says, have gone Skinner to Nod. So O'Driscoll for those playing at home, and Hollands to McInnes, and to get 29 green dots, pending Jack Hayes selection. So obviously that'll be 28 green dots, unfortunately for you. Likely going to skip on Preuss for some reason. Think my cash generation should outweigh what I make from Preuss. McInnes plus Hayes to Preuss plus Hollands. Hopefully Sam Hayes gets a game for Port. How he hasn't already is crazy for the Hayes to Hayes next week. Yeah, I don't know how he hasn't played already for Port either. Is Mcrae worth a go with the VC over Dunks? Rank probably isn't bad enough to take risks, but if it fails, cripple ton anyway. Mcrae averages 130.1 the G in his past 10. Okay, that's interesting. He averages 120 in his career, so that's great to know. And 136.1 against Tigers in his past 4, including that 190. Duncan in comparison averages 93.5 in at the G in his past 6 and 131 against Tigers in his past 2. He hasn't played since 2019. Only worries Mcrae's possible wing role might, but it might be worth the risk. Yeah, I'm going Mcrae because I have a feeling he's going to bounce back this week. Probably more out of hope than anything. But yeah, Dunkley is. I don't think you can read too much into Dunkley's history because Dunkley's he's had injury stuff. He's not been in the midfield full time, whereas he's in the midfield full time now, and he should be big as well. It could bite me on the ass going Mcrae over Dunkley, but as you said, Cripps should turn up anyway, so that's why I'm going to go Mcrae. I paid money for Mcrae, so that's why I'm giving him responsibility. He needs to respond this week. So hopefully he can, and hopefully be good. So Dan says, Grundy to Preuss, Hayes to Cripps, and Field Rowe is the first option. So Grundy to Preuss, and then Hayes to Cripps. Yep, okay, tick that off. And then Field Rowe, or the second option, Hayes to O'Driscoll and Rowe to Cripps and Field Jason Horne-Francis. Essentially, Grundy and Horne-Francis be Preuss and Rowe. I would be... Oh, that's a tough one. Because you're missing out on the Preuss thing. That's the thing. Based on what I saw last night, I don't think that I don't know, like, I'd keep Grundy. I would probably keep Grundy. I'm still set and forget. If there is a way you can bring Preuss on your bench, you could do that. But with your second option, you're going Hayes to O'Driscoll and then you're going Rowe to Cripps. I'd probably rather O'Driscoll and Cripps, and you'd unfortunately miss out on Preuss because O'Driscoll's going to make you money for Hayes. Hopefully, you've been in the team for a few weeks, and you're going Rowe to Cripps, right? So Rowe's not going to be in your team for the whole year. Cripps looks like he will be, and Grundy will be. So I would rather keep Grundy and then get Cripps, as they're the two guys you're going to keep in your team, other than going for Preuss and Rowe, where Rowe's not going to be in your team for the full year and Preuss won't be in your team for the whole year. They'll just make some money. So that's why I'd go Grundy and Horne-Francis there. So JT and Frenchie Gangster Boys. Who for D6 this week, lads? O'Driscoll or Hinge? I would probably go Hinge because he's showed that he can score better. He's got I think he's got back-to-back 70s, I think. Hingey, I'm pretty sure. So Hinge, obviously not. I don't know if I would bring him in now. He's 439. If you started with him, it wasn't a bad option. But yeah, 79 and 70 in his last two. I'd be playing Hinge there. I just think Hinge would probably score more. Yep, Huddersfield. So Yep says, that's not, I wasn't saying Yep to him. Yep says, Huddersfield, McCartan, O'Driscoll, or Steiny. I'd probably go Driscoll there. I think O'Driscoll's got the better scoring potential out of those three. Stein can give you a 30 or a 20. McCartan, the same. McCartan's got over 40 every week, but as I said, light rain expected in that game. So I'd go Driscoll there. I'm fielding O'Driscoll over McCartan as well this week. Bill says, these ongoing rankings over the whole round are pointless. I only had Petrarca in last night's game, so of course ranking blew out. Yeah, well, that's why they just do the rankings there just sort of to keep track of it over the round. But obviously, last night I only had Butters and Gawn, and I know a lot of people have full teams of having Melbourne players and stuff, and they might have gone above based on it only being round 4. But I rose 2,000 spots by just having Gawn because I think a lot of people above me traded Gawn out. So yeah, it fluctuates for the round. It just comes out to whatever you'll be at the end of the round. So yeah. Jason on France or Ward says Egghead Kelly. I would go Ward this week. I think Ward's got the better matchup against St Kilda compared to Horn Francis against Sydney at the SCG. I think they've said Horn Francis, David Noble said he wants him forward as well. So maybe less CBAs for him this week. So I'd be fielding Ward out of those two this week. Gooder says one, Phil De Conning. Not Phil De Conning. De Conning to McInnes and Hayes to Preuss with O'Driscoll on field, or Rowder Blakey and Hayes to Preuss. I would go the Rowder Blakey and Hayes to Preuss one, I think, because I think Blakey on field over O'Driscoll, I think, will gain you points. I don't think Rowe will be that much. I don't think he's going to get you 110, 120. And McInnes might not be in the team long term. So I would go Rowder Blakey and Hayes to Preuss because I think De Conning's still going to be in the team, still make money. But I can see what you're doing where moving De Conning to McInnes, that'll make you some more money over the next couple of weeks. But I just think you might need De Conning as an emergency as a defender over the next few weeks. So Bomber says Hayes to Preuss or Hollands to McInnes. Phil McInnes has as much upside as Preuss in terms of cash generation. So my dogs are going nuts. Really, I hate when the dogs do that. Far out. So Hayes to Preuss or Hollands to McInnes. Phil McInnes has as much upside as Preuss in terms of cash generation, but not sure. In that case, because Hayes has been dropped as well, this makes it a lot easier. I'd be going Hayes to Preuss, but I probably would have gone Hayes to Preuss anyway because I think Hollands will come to the team at some point. But Hollands could be a good thing. You could loophole Horn Francis and Ward, or you could loophole Rochelle and Nick Martin or Paddy Nash or whoever you've got. You could do a bit of a loop there. So, and because Hollands plays the last game, you can do that. And he could be a good loophole option for your VC because I don't think Hollands is an emergency. But it sounds like he's getting closer to a debut. So I would only move Hollands out if there's a rookie coming through that's going to be there for a while. So yeah, he's not on the emergency list. So yeah, I'd be going Hayes to Preuss there. So all right, that's it. Bit of a long one today, obviously. We normally go over an hour anyway these days with a few more questions that. But thank you very much for watching. My trades this week, I went Skinner to O'Driscoll last night. I'm playing O'Driscoll on my field over McCartan. And my second trade will be either Rochelle or Rowe to Preuss as my R3. So if I go Rowe to Preuss, that means I would field Horn Francis or Rochelle this week. So one of those two. If I go Rochelle out, it means that Rowe will be on my field still, and Horn Francis and Rochelle would be out, and it would be Horn Francis on my bench. So just depends what I'm looking at doing. If I go Rowe out, it gives me the extra money. I think I'll have a lot of coin in the bank for next week, which could be important to upgrade someone to get an option next week. So I think we're doing Rowe out. I've got 173k in the bank to use as an upgrade. And then I could go Hayes down to a rookie next week. And then I've got probably going to be over 300k. And that can get me McCartan next week if O'Driscoll fails this one, and go McCartan up to who I want. I can get a Blakey. I can get a Will Day. I can get someone that I want. Or I can go and get, if Nash gets dropped, I can go Nash to a Heaney, for example. That could be the first upgrade I'll do. So that's just something that I'll probably go Rowe out this week just for that extra money. And I think Rasheed will still make a little bit of coin as well. And I don't even know if it'll be that far difference between Rowe and Rochelle, because Rowe hasn't been too great besides round one, and I don't know if I think that could be his high score for the year. So personally, that's what I think. But yeah, so anyway, thank you very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did enjoy the video, as I said, leave a like on the video. Appreciate that. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Appreciate that as well. All the social media links are in the description below if you want to go check all those out. Hit me up on Twitter, Instagram for any questions. Comment on the article on DT Talk. Link to that. The website is in the link in the description. Check out the Weekend Forecast written version. You can put questions there as well. I'll answer them there. Also, leave questions here on the video. Comment on the video if you've got any questions. I'll answer them there as well. And I'll see you guys on Sunday. And I potentially have a special guest joining me on Sunday. I won't reveal that until Sunday when I do my usual tweet saying I'm going live. And I'll let you know if it is confirmed 100%, which I think it is. But to be sure, I'll leave it till then. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you guys on Sunday night after the Carlton and Gold Coast game. Good luck this week. Have a good night. Cheers.